We were one of the last sharecropping families in Arkansas. My parents had 19 children. We were cotton sharecroppers. We all kind of knew about racism, about prejudices, about discrimination. We understood all of that. And we lived in the South, and we lived in the very rural South. So it was an accepted thing. In seventh grade, freedom of choice turned up in Gould, Arkansas. And what happened was they would ask certain parents, did they want to send their children to the white school? And my parents, because they loved education and knew that they wanted their children to learn, said, yeah, we're going to send our kids to the white school. I remember that I was like, this is not real. I'm going to this school, I'm getting off the bus, and there's a whole yard full of white kids. And they were staring at me, and I was staring at them. It wasn't like they were, actively doing anything to me, but it was the stares, like we were really a sight to behold. There was one teacher that I loved dearly, and I always would remember because he was the one teacher who expected the same out of me and my siblings as he did out of any of the other students. And I did not feel that in any other class. I met Daisy Bates in 1969. I was 16 years old at the time. So this summer, I was a junior, and my mom and dad were benevolent enough to say, you don't have to chop cotton, the second summer. What we're going to do is let you go down and interview with Daisy Bates. We hear she needs a girl to come and help her in her office down in Mitchellville, Arkansas. I did interview with her. She gave me a typing test that I flunked miserably. And she said, why don't you go back to school and take typing again and come back next year and interview? I didn't go back that next year, but I never forgot Daisy Bates. We crossed paths again in 1987. I had graduated from the University of Arkansas. I was feeling as if I wasn't doing what I should be doing in life, so I started thinking, what else can I do closer to writing, and journalism, which is really what I want to do. And someone told me Daisy Bates needed someone to be her managing editor because her managing editor was leaving. I went over and interviewed with her. And I reminded her as I interviewed with her before I left, I said, Mrs. Bates, do you remember me from 1969 and you did not give me that job? I really hope you'll give me that job this time. And she just laughed, and later on she called and told me that I had the job. And that was one of the happiest days in my life, that fate had worked its magic, and I was working with Daisy Bates. And I worked for her as her managing editor for 3 months. And she walked in one day and decided, I'm going home. I'm tired, I'm sick, and I really need to be at home. So she decided she was going to sell the newspaper. So I went home, and I just really bawled to my husband and said, I've left state government, but now Daisy is getting ready to sell her newspaper. So he said, well, why don't you see if she'll sell it to you? And I went back and talked to her, and we did. So I purchased her newspaper in 1988. I would say black newspapers probably had as much role in the civil rights struggle as anything, because people learned about what was going on through those newspapers. We relied on them. Black communities relied on them because they told them the truth about things that were happening, and they talked about what was going on in our communities.